Welcome to a very special Halloween crossover event. I'm Stephanie Wilson, the Argyle Insider, and today I'm busting an Argyle myth while at the same time answering the question, what's the deal with the Old Alton Bridge, also known as Goatman's Bridge? Is it really haunted? And so I am with Shelly Tucker. She's also known as the Goat Lady. As the Ghost Lady.
They call me anything.
and she does a fun year-round 90-minute tour on the Ghosts of Denton. So I figured she was the expert on this matter. So Shelly, first explain what the myth is behind the Goatman's Bridge.
Well, online you can find several versions of it. In fact, this morning I found a new one where someone has really elaborated on it.
Okay.
But what I found when I first started doing this tour, people said that there once was a man who lived out here, and his name was Oscar Washburn.
Okay, what time period was this?
They
1800s?
They dated it as the 1930s.
Oh, okay.
Okay. And he was a farmer, a goat farmer.
Mm-hmm.
And he made his money from selling the meat and the milk and the pelts and so forth. And he was doing very well, which angered white farmers in the area that a black man could be doing so well. Well, one day he hung a sign on the bridge with an arrow pointing to his house saying, "This way to the Goat Man." And that was it.
Okay.
They had all they could take. They couldn't take any more. So they put on white hoods.
Yeah.
And they came out here, and of course at that time this was the road.
The actual bridge, yeah.
And they went across this one-lane bridge with their lights off. On the other side, they got out and they ambushed Oscar Washburn, put a rope around his neck, and threw him over the side of the bridge.
Okay.
When they looked again, he wasn't there.
He disappeared.
Just disappeared. And they were so angry that he had escaped. They burned his house, they slaughtered his goats, and after that, the bridge was supposedly haunted by Oscar Washburn. And if you came out here and parked your car over on that side and turned off the lights and honked 3 times, that you'd hear the growling of the goat man, you'd see his glowing eyes in the dark. They said that some teenagers who came out here and parked disappeared. You'd find their car here, but not the teenagers.
Okay.
Well, I think they did find an abandoned car out here.
Okay.
That story is a wonderful slumber party story, and someone has embellished it even more on the internet now. I mean, it was a good read, but it's just a story.
So that's a myth.
That's the myth.
Okay.
But is it haunted?
Yes. Is it?
Everybody I talk to says yes, it is.
Okay.
But not by a goat man. Oscar Washburn, I looked for him in the census between 1880 and 1930. There was only one Oscar Washburn in this area for a brief time. Actually, he was in Denton County, but he was on the other side of it, and he was white. Okay. There were no lynchings in this area in the 1930s. Denton was pretty enlightened and would probably have had newspaper stories about lynchings.
Right.
So that's just a myth. But the community of Alton was here. Folks think that perhaps the people who lived here still haunted. Others think, this whole area was so wild that folks hid out here in the 1800s, hid from the law. So some of those people might be hiding out here. Now, one group told me about coming out to the bridge here and sitting at the little seating area over there. They had a meter like this one. It's a meter that has bright lights on it, and I can't really show it to the camera, but the lights light up to red if you've got an entity around.
Okay.
Okay.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah. And so as they had this over at the seating area, the lights went high. to the reds and the yellows.
Mm-hmm.
The energy, there was something there,
Mm-hmm.
and it began to move away from them. They followed it.
Where did it go?
It led deep into the woods.
Right here by Old Alton Bridge.
Mm-hmm. By the bridge, back in there where people hike. And when it stopped moving, they looked around and saw that around them there was the foundation of an old house,
Mm-hmm.
and on one of the trees there was goat wire. So maybe somebody out here did raise goats. Now another group went out onto the bridge behind us here.
Okay.
And they had all their cameras recording in the nighttime. And they have recordings of a orange red ball of light
Mm-hmm.
that was floating.
Okay.
It was almost like a mist of
Weird.
light floating, and it was floating into the wind,
Huh.
not with it. And they recorded this.
Mhm.
I will say that I've heard lots of different stories, but one that really got me, when I first started doing my ghost tours in Denton on the square each weekend, a lot of times people want to tell me a story at the end. And a young man took me aside and he said, my friend and I came out to the bridge late at night, and there was nobody here. And I can't imagine when that would be, because usually at night out here, that's like a Walmart parking lot over there.
Right.
But he and his friend came out here to the bridge, and his friend stepped on out onto the middle of the bridge. He was standing about where we are, and all of a sudden, inside his head, that young man heard a voice saying, "Get off the bridge!" And he didn't step onto it, he stepped back.
Yeah.
And about that time, he said he saw his friend fly up in the air and land on his back.
No.
Yeah. And then it looked like somebody picked up his legs and dragged him by his feet,
Mm-hmm.
and then flipped him over the side of the bridge into the water.
Mm-mm.
When his friend came out of the water, he ran down, of course, and said, "What happened?" He said, "I don't know, man." He said, "I heard somebody growl at me, say, 'Get off the bridge,' and I thought it was you, and I laughed." So the moral of the story would be, if you're on this bridge and you hear someone say, "Get off the bridge,"
Better get off.
don't laugh and get off the bridge. But people tell me these things, and is it true? I don't know. It's their perceptions.
Mm-hmm.
There are a lot of people who come out here to do investigations, and
Mhm.
they will claim that they experienced something. I was with one group one late night for a kind of a investigation,
Mm-hmm.
and on the other side of this, in the darkness, as we walked, probably about 50 yards on the other side,
Mm-hmm.
we started getting activity on our meters, and several of us were getting that creepy feeling. But in the dark, you can creep yourself out.
Right.
So I will tell you that this place, you really have to watch out if you're coming out here to investigate at night.
Okay.
First of all, the mosquitoes can pick up a half-grown calf. So wear mosquito repellent. Second, I have not been out here until today that I haven't seen a copperhead while I was trying to come out to the bridge. So watch for snakes. And a gentleman gave me a photograph of his footprint in the mud beside the footprint of an alligator.
Oh gosh, what are we doing? We need to get out here.
Well, no, we're fine up here. And if you see them, if they've got their mouth shut, you're fine. If they got your mouth open, you better run, because it's that trap jaw
Right.
thing. But no, that gator's foot was 3 times the size of the man's foot, of course.
Mm-hmm.
And Parks and Rec said, "Oh, you got you about a 700-pound gator out there." So do be careful if you come out here, because ghosts aren't the scariest thing out here.
Well, that is interesting to know. Thank you so much.
You're so welcome.
I have information about Shelly's ghost tours, and I know that you are very popular. You get booked up, and then you're going to take a little break. So go online, and you can book a future date with some of your friends. It's a good time.
Yeah, and if they don't get in before Halloween, because I kind of take off for winter, Texans don't come out in the cold
no, we don't.
unless there's a football involved, and I don't have a
Right.
football carrying ghost. But I will do private tours if you've got 6 people who
Oh,
want to
okay.
go.
Great. That's
And
fun.
if you want to sit by the fire, I've got my book available down at the Denton Welcome Center,
Okay.
and you can pick it up there. And if you invite me over and give me hot chocolate, I might tell you a story anyway.
I love that. So this is so much fun.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you. And as always, if you have questions about the Argyle area or about local real estate, please feel free to give me a shout. I'd love to help be a resource for you. That is your What's the Deal Wednesday. I'll see you next week.